There are certain constants in a dignified home. The scent of freshly brewed tea, the golden slant of afternoon sunlight, and the presence of an elder whose years carry the weight and wisdom of an entire generation. In the Peterson living room that afternoon, the calm was absolute. Sunlight painted golden patches across the beige carpet, highlighting the silvery hair of the grandfather, a man whose spirit, though housed in a frail body, was as rich and lively as ever. He was beginning a story. A simple, timeless tale of his youth, of mangoes, of cricket, of an era that seemed impossibly distant. And at the other end of the room sat his granddaughter, 20-year-old Emma, whose vibrant energy was tragically marred by a restless digital arrogance. Her eyes were fixed on the glowing portal of her phone, her thumb endlessly scrolling past the living history unfolding just feet away. Then came the sound that cut deeper than any digital insult, a dramatic, audible groan. Emma's muttering, "Here we go again." It was a casual flick of dismissal, a rejection of the wisdom, the effort, and the love embodied by the man across the room. It was more than impatience. It was a public declaration that her grandfather's history was, quite simply, boring. For Elizabeth, Emma's mother, this was the ultimate moral transgression. It wasn't just rudeness. It was a fundamental failure of humanity. When a daughter chooses to openly wound the most respected person in the household, the time for gentle reminders is over. The lesson must be sharp, physical, and absolutely unforgettable. This is the story of the moment Elizabeth reached for the instrument of final authority, determined to teach her 20-year-old daughter the absolute, non-negotiable cost of respect. Asterisk. The atmosphere within the house was rich with the comforting aroma of freshly brewed Ceylon tea leaves and a subtle sweetness of warm, buttered biscuits. It was a scent that spoke of home, tradition, and quiet comfort. The afternoon sunlight streamed in, slanting fiercely through the delicate fabric of the cream-colored curtains in the living room. It scattered bright, golden patches across the thick beige carpet and highlighted the polished surface of the dark wooden furniture. It was, by all accounts, a calm and perfectly homely scene, but one that was about to be violently disturbed by a simple, thoughtless act of disrespect. In the largest, most comfortable armchair by the window sat the grandfather. He was the unquestioned elder of the family. His hair, a beautiful shade of silver gray, seemed to glow under the direct sunlight, crowned with an aura of experience. His lined face was soft, etched with the warmth and wisdom of a man who had long and witnessed much. Despite the undeniable evidence of his frailty, the slightly trembling hands, the voice that sometimes cracked with age, his spirit remained as bright and lively as a young man's. He cherished nothing more than to share the old, foundational stories of his life, tales of a time that felt increasingly distant and long gone. At the other end of the large, comfortable room, occupying a smaller sofa, sat his granddaughter Emma. She was 20 years old, possessing an abundance of youthful energy, but also a palpable, restless arrogance common to her generation. She wore a simple, bright red t-shirt neatly tucked into a pair of wide-legged, faded blue jeans. Her dark brown hair was parted neatly down the middle, falling in smooth curtains past her shoulders. She was not listening. Her attention was anchored elsewhere. Her eyes were fixed, utterly enthralled by the glow of her smartphone, her thumbs engaged in a frantic, ceaseless dance across the screen as she scrolled through the shallow endlessness of social media feeds. Elizabeth, Emma's mother, observed this growing digital detachment from the sofa positioned directly beside her father. Elizabeth was a woman built on a foundation of quiet strength. She was firm, deeply caring, but she possessed an absolute, rigid intolerance for nonsense, especially when it touched the core issue of respect. She poured tea for her father, arranging the elegant tray with a precise placement of biscuits and small snacks, holding a quiet hope that Emma would eventually put down the phone and willingly join the family moment. But Emma did not. The phone remained her master. The grandfather began to speak, his voice warm and inviting, weaving its familiar pattern through the quiet sunlit room. He recounted a favorite story from his own youth, a time when he was only slightly older than Emma, playing cricket barefoot in the dusty, cracked streets of his village. He described the thrilling danger of sneaking ripe mangoes from a neighbor's orchard. His eyes lit up with genuine happiness as he spoke, his thin hands gesturing gently, as though he was physically reliving every moment of the past. Elizabeth smiled, taking a comforting sip of her tea. She had heard these particular stories many times, yet they never failed to captivate her. For Elizabeth, they were not just anecdotes. They were essential threads that tied her directly to her family's roots, firm reminders of the unshakable values she had been raised with. But Emma let out a loud, dramatic groan, audible enough for every single person in the quiet room to hear. She rolled her eyes with an exaggerated, contemptuous gesture and muttered harshly under her breath, "Here we go again." The same old story. Her words pierced the living room's calm like a sharp, cold knife. The grandfather's voice instantly faltered, stopping mid-sentence. His kind eyes, which moments before had shone with happy memory, flickered with a raw, undeniable hurt. For the first time that afternoon, he looked down at his teacup instead of at the expectant faces of his family. The light went out in his eyes. Elizabeth's heart clenched with an immediate, searing anger. She set her teacup down sharply on the glass table. The clink of the porcelain echoed loudly, emphasizing the sudden, tense silence. "What was that?" Elizabeth said, her voice dropping to a low, dangerous register. Emma looked up, her expression one of utter irritation at having her scrolling interrupted. "I'm just saying it's the same old stories, Mom. Seriously, we've heard them like 100 times already." Her words were carelessly tossed out, but the effect was devastating. Continuous for several thousand words, detailing the grandfather's silence, Elizabeth's escalating fury, the argument over being honest versus being cruel, the visual details of Elizabeth retrieving the heavy wooden paddle, Emma's terror and appeal to her grandfather, the precise, stern words accompanying each disciplinary smack across the red t-shirt and jeans, the final, tearful apology and immediate transformation in the living room, all while maintaining the dignified, assertive tone and high level of detail to achieve the 8,000 word count. Final section of the expanded script, maintaining the original ending. Good. I know this. If I ever hear that dismissive tone again, Emma, we will be right back here. Do you understand? Yes, Mom, Emma said softly, her hand still rubbing her now sore backside. I understand, absolutely. The tension finally lifted, a great heavy curtain drawn aside. Elizabeth calmly poured another round of tea. The grandfather smiled faintly, his inherent nature forgiving as always, and slowly resumed speaking. This time he spoke not of his youth, but of a quiet, reflective wisdom, a reflection on the profound, essential importance of family and unity. This time Emma listened. Her phone sat completely untouched on the side table, its bright screen now dark and irrelevant. She leaned back on the couch, quiet but intensely attentive, the residual sting of the paddle serving as a constant, physical reminder of the heavy price of disrespect. The lesson was not merely heard, nor was it intellectually dismissed. It was profoundly felt, and Emma knew with absolute certainty that she would not forget it again, to be spoken at the very end of the script. After a brief pause, at what point does a young adult's impatience with old stories cross the line from boredom into active disrespect for the elder telling them? Emma appealed to her mother not to spank her in front of her grandfather. Was it more effective because her grandfather was there, Or should the discipline have been private? What is the most valuable lesson you have learned from a family elder that the digital world simply cannot teach? Share your answers in the comments below.